What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for life, coming at you on YouTube, and today I am wrestling with myself. I wanted to bring you guys a wrestling video during this pandemic and trying to be as diverse as possible, and I wanted to quickly talk to you guys today about what I think is the best thing so far to happen to wrestling in the year 2020. And it might surprise you guys to know that my favorite thing in wrestling this year was a WWE production. If you guys watch my videos, you guys watch my how I book things and my reviews and my previews of match cards, you guys know that I am not really a WWE fan anymore. Not really a fan of Vince, Raw, SmackDown, the main roster, all that stuff. And you guys know if you read Pro Wrestling Journal on Wednesdays and Thursdays that I do segment-by-segment breakdowns and reviews of AEW Dynamite. So if you guys want to see my AEW reviews, go to ProWrestlingJournal.com. But you guys know that WWE is not my favorite thing in the world. I don't like how they book for the most part. But if you look at my shirt today, and if you look at my companion I brought with me to illustrate my points today and talk to you guys about what I loved, you guys might know by now what segment I'm talking about. And if you don't know what segment I love so much, you're probably on the wrong channel because you probably don't watch wrestling. Because if you do, then Bray here will tell you what segment I love the most. And that segment was the Firefly Funhouse match. Now, I watched WrestleMania. I really only watch, as far as the main roster, I really only watch 3 shows a year. I watch Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and SummerSlam. This year was the first time ever that I watched WrestleMania alone. Didn't go to a friend's party. Watched in quarantine, as we're all doing. Obviously, there was no fans in the arena. For that reason, the show overall was like a 5 or 6 out of 10. It was a very average show, which was way better than I expected because the matches themselves were pretty decent. I think if this show was in front of a crowd, this show would have been closer to a 7 or a 7.5 out of 10. But because there was no audience, the show itself didn't wind up being anything special. But by and large, they produced 2 cinematic matches. They did a Undertaker versus AJ Styles match in a Boneyard match, and they did Bray Wyatt versus John Cena in a Firefly Funhouse match that were like Lucha Underground style cinematic masterpieces. And I didn't prepare any notes. I didn't make this linear. I didn't do any writing for this video. I just wanted to bring you guys my quick thoughts about some of the reasons why I thought this was absolutely brilliant. Now, I know some of you guys loved this. Some Laps fans really enjoyed this. I know that the hardcore wrestling fans, much like myself, the people that watch for a lot of the in-ring product and a lot of the matches and storytelling in the matches, might not like this match. It's not traditional. It's not an actual wrestling match, to be honest. It is more of a segment, but what it accomplished made it very, very special. First things first, the cinematography and the way that it was shot was excellent. They used Bray Wyatt's lair. They used a lot of cool backgrounds. They used a lot of darkness, a lot of just throwback sets with cool set pieces. So props to the set designer of this, the people that found the locations for this to mix things up, and those that shot this. You guys are the stars of this show. This was, again, it reminded me of like the Final Deletion stuff at Impact. More so, it reminded me of my favorite company to come along in the last 10 years, Lucha Underground. It was very much a theatrical, mass-produced, really slickly shot, nice cameras, nice lighting, good sound. Everything just felt like a horror movie. And part of why that's so cool is not only the production value of it, but the fact that it fits with Mr. Bray Wyatt's character. It fit The Fiend perfectly. This is something The Fiend would do. This wasn't just making a movie to make a movie. This was Bray Wyatt delving into the psyche and the mind of John Cena and using his abilities as The Fiend to not only go back and revisit John Cena's career, but revisit his own career as well, to fix John Cena's missteps and fix his own in one fell swoop. Now, you guys know I love Wyatt. I think as the cult leader, the Wyatt family should have been treated a lot better. I love Harper and Rowan as well. I think they should have had Wyatt beat Cena 6 years ago, and that's where the problem started. Ever since Cena beat Wyatt at WrestleMania, Wyatt went downhill. He got buried, he got repackaged as The Fiend, he got built up again, and then he got buried by Goldberg again and lost the belt for no reason in 2 minutes in Saudi Arabia in a non-canon show. So they built Wyatt perfectly, killed him inexplicably, built him again perfectly with a new character, and then buried him to a part-time guy that can't wrestle anymore for no reason. But this did a lot to rehab that. So I've heard things about who wrote this. Some say that Borash had things to do with this. Some say that Bray had a lot of input. People say John Cena had a lot of input, and people say Bruce Pritchard had a lot of input. I believe that all four of those guys, based on what I've seen in the past, could have been involved in this, and if so, kudos to all four men. Please let Bray Wyatt do more stuff like this, because not only is he brilliant, but he understands his character in this. So I'm going to spoil things about what happened in this. So if you haven't watched it, it's like 15 minutes. It's on the network for WrestleMania. Go back and watch it. It is worth your time if you like character and storytelling as much as I do. They start off with Cena in the Firefly Funhouse being told where to go by these characters. They go into this Ruthless Aggression John Cena, where Cena comes out with the SmackDown fist in the background. They brought back the SmackDown fist. Cena comes out in his original attire, and they treat Bray Wyatt like he's Kurt Angle, and they cut the Kurt Angle promo with John Cena reenacting his debut in his first night in the company, where he did the Ruthless Aggression saying, and he slapped Kurt Angle and had the match. They had Bray Wyatt duck that and kind of rewrite John Cena's first night, where John Cena couldn't get his first strike in. Therefore, his career never really started the way that it did before. They were taking Wyatt was taking jabs at Cena, saying he should have been fired, which was a real life backstage story. They were taking shots at Brie Bella, John Cena's bride to be, which never worked out. They were able to edit this thing slickly so that Bray could come and go and disappear and reappear, which fits his character, having that Taker magic kind of thing, which I wish he would still have. Then the next thing, they go to a Saturday Night's Main Event, where they actually licensed the music. They had the original Saturday Night's Main Event theme song playing in the background, which was another big thing like the SmackDown Fist that fans have been clamoring for. So they had that happen, which was great. They had Cena and Wyatt appearing as like Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, doing the steroided up 80s character promo where it looks like Cena is a young Hogan and Wyatt is a young Savage, and Cena's pumping iron, and all he can do is pump iron. He loses focus on the rest of the world, and he just focuses on lifting, and he's not paying attention to anything. So you have this crazy 80s steroid promo, and then Cena goes nuts again and just kind of like loses track of where he is. What was next on this thing? Then we had them go back to Cena and Wyatt from back in the day. We had Bray Wyatt in his old character in his rocking chair with his hat and his Hawaiian shirt, talking about how he has to right the wrongs and he should have won 6 years ago. He had the whole world in his hands. And they go back and show flashbacks of what happened in that Cena-Wyatt match when Wyatt should have won. They have the Doctor of Thugonomics, John Cena, come out in his old gear and his old garb, and he starts cutting a promo on Bray. He does a pretty cool rap, saying some pretty good things about Husky Harris and all this stuff, and talking about how Bray missed his opportunity, so Cena's staying in character. Then Wyatt talks about, well, I had the opportunity, Johnny, you're the one that took it away. You beat me at WrestleMania when the crowd was with me. They wanted me. You talk about wanting change and wanting to help the superstars. I was one of the superstars. You could have helped me. So they're breaking the fourth wall, breaking kayfabe, talking about how Cena buried Wyatt when Cena should have put Wyatt over and would have made his career. And that's why we're in the spot we're in today. So all the continuity here is just keeping up. It's fan service and it's continuity. And then we go to Cena can't seem to admit what he did wrong. So then we go to NWO. Wyatt comes out as Eric Bischoff, and they splice back to Eric Bischoff promos in an NWO shirt, in a Wolfpack shirt. Then Cena comes out with the Hulk Hogan black and white entrance, strumming on the belt in NWO black and white, with the black and white on the screen, where Cena is Hogan. And he talks about how people love him. And they go back and splice back to all the times the fans booed him. So they're referencing the fact that John Cena never had the fans behind him, and he was a company guy like Hogan, who the company pushed, but he was their guy, but he was not the fans' guy. So Hogan turned heel and turned Hollywood, like Cena would not do. Cena refused to turn heel, where Hogan made the jump and Cena did not. And then Hogan went to Hollywood in the character sense, and Cena went to Hollywood for the movie sense. So now they're delving into real life, where not only did Cena make character choices, but he made real life choices to walk away. Also, the reference of Hogan is that Hogan held guys down. He had contractual control, creative control, and he held guys down, just like Wyatt is referencing John Cena doing. So people are on his side. Nobody loves him, and all he wants is to be loved. And he's not helping the current generation like he says he is. He's saying one thing, and he's doing backstage politics in another. And then finally, Cena goes for the finish like he did against Wyatt before. Wyatt reverses into Sister Abigail. Fiend pops in behind John Cena in the ring, reverses Sister Abigail, hits it on Cena. The Fiend pins Cena, and Mr. Rogers Bray Wyatt, the Funhouse Bray Wyatt, counts the pin. Then the Fiend stands up and gets his victory, and John Cena disappears into the sunset. So we're left to believe that not only did Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, right the wrongs of 6 years ago, reverse the move, go back and rewrite history to pin John Cena, but Cena now is gone. So they can use this as a way to write off Cena and put somebody over, or they can bring Cena back in a long, long time from now and let him do his movies and come back when he's next ready. So, again, to go back to the reasons why I love this, you have all the continuity. They're talking about Cena's debut in his career, the Doctor of Thugonomics, the fans not liking him turning into Hogan, being the company guy. They're going through Cena's whole career and breaking down his psyche, talking about Nikki Bella, talking about not being loved by the fans, breaking down his psyche and getting inside his head, which really creates danger and chaos in the Fiend's mind. You're literally seeing inside the Fiend's character's mind, which is why it's so crazy and why it's so jumpy and why it's so accurate to what Bray Wyatt feels. You're going back into Bray Wyatt's career. They talk about Husky Harris. They go back into the Bray Wyatt character and why his push got stopped to John Cena in the first place. He references what he wanted to say 6 years ago. They go into like all the cool fan service stuff between the SmackDown Fist, the NWO, the Saturday Night's Main Event stuff. And they go back through and build this story up to where Wyatt can now rewrite history and beat John Cena like he should have done in the first place. So now Cena has had a career retrospective and has a nice way to go out. Bray Wyatt gets the pin on Cena and rights the wrong and has a cool segment in doing so, which builds his character and sets up a new way with editing and cinematography and lighting and sound and continuity, paying fan service to the hardcore fans that have watched for the last 6 years, using logic and using continuity, which Vince McMahon never does in this. Not to mention the Vince puppet saying such good shit, which is a nod to Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley on the AEW podcast. But yeah, they're doing inside jokes. They're reminding the fans of what happened 6 years ago. They're building the story from the last 6 years and actually through John Cena's career in the 2000s, all the way up to the end. So it rewards the fans for paying attention, for following the guys' careers, and it makes you emotionally invested in where the story's going, not to mention the wacky twists and turns that keep you on your toes. So, with all that being said, I can finally breathe out. Bray can get his win back, and his career, his character is rehabbed in one night by righting the wrongs of the past. They did such a nice job with this cinematography-wise and through telling the story of The Fiend. I hope they do more of these matches. I want to see The Fiend do this to The Undertaker next, because Taker beat him when he shouldn't have and took his powers back when he shouldn't have. I want to see more of these kind of matches. Did you like this, or were you mad that it was not a traditional wrestling match? Was it too outside the box for you? Was it too crazy to follow? Did you not understand some of the references, or did you like the twists and turns of this? Please tell me in the comments if you understood my review, and if you liked this or didn't like this, and why. Bray and I are very interested in why fans did or didn't like this. It's a very polarizing topic, and I can understand both sides of the fence. But for me, as a fan of The Fiend and a fan of storytelling and a fan of cinematography as a filmmaker and a fan of continuity and logic in wrestling, which this company has lacked for years, I love this. 10 out of 10, one of the best segments I've ever seen them do in my 33 years as a fan. Tell me in the comments below what you thought, and I will see you guys soon. Follow the buzzards. Let me in.